Welcome back to another edition of the Founder Spotlight. Today I have Todd Harris, founder of Plift. Welcome, Todd. How are you doing today?
Hey Lars, good to see you, my friend. How are you? I'm doing great.
Pretty good. Just, dealing with these technical difficulties is never fun,
Hmm.
but we got here. So that's always
Yeah,
positive.
we're here now, brother. Let's let it ride.
So you've had a pretty long career. You've been in tech, media, digital strategy, and now you're making that venture into the THC beverage world. So what inspired that leap to get into cannabis?
Honestly, Lars, thanks again for having me. It's been one of those things where I always wanted to create something that was in service of people, and I just didn't know what that was. And so I've had some, startups and D2C brands and things like that that I've launched that have had very limited success. And then meeting my co-founder Glenn, that many of the folks who are listening probably or reading will probably know, we came to this idea looking to socialize the consumption of cannabis for people like me who are alcoholics in recovery and come from alcoholic families. And we just wanted to create something and provide something that was a service to people, allow them to treat themselves better and give them a social way to unwind that didn't require them to drink. And so that was all we needed, a little bit of personal story, a little bit of personal feel with trying to meet the market where it was going.
Yeah, so you mentioned meeting the market where it's at, and you guys did a lot of early market research and identified some key opportunities in this cannabis beverage space. So how did those insights shape the way you approach creating Plift?
When you're trying to do things that are in service of people, in service of consumers, you have to kind of think of things through their lens. And I come from a brand strategy and an innovation strategy and a cultural strategy space. And so, meeting consumers where they were going is important. And, a big piece to that pie is what we call internally at Plift as accessibility. And accessibility shows up in a multitude of ways. It comes up in terms of price, right? It comes up in terms of the ability to find your product somewhere. And so from an accessibility perspective, we wanted to use hemp as the vehicle because that made it, where we could give us the opportunity or pave the path for us to go into multiple or diverse channels of sales, i.e. accessibly found. And then using hemp and the supply chain that we've been able to build, it allowed us to create a product that was accessibly priced, right? And so we want any consumer anywhere to be within a quarter mile of a Plift. And if they walk in there, we want them to be able to afford that Plift, right? And so our go-to-market with our wholesalers and our partners is a premium look, premium taste, value, price. And we're really adamant and make decisions based on.
I love that. So, I think you've probably put this out there a little bit. You did a recent interview, I believe, with Startup CPG as well. But could you give us a little bit of a background behind the name Plift? It's a unique background, but, tell us that story.
Yeah. So when we were trying to think of what to call the company, the first name of the brand was actually Happy Hour by Noble Brands Inc. Noble Brands Inc. is our parent company. We always had this mission to be like the Robin Hood of the cannabis industry. We've since changed the name from Happy Hour for a multitude of reasons, including our friends Happy that we all know so well. So we changed the name to Plift, and Plift is actually a made up name that's intentionally one letter short of the word uplift because all that's missing is you. And when we say you, we mean the collective yous and meeting you where you are in your cannabis journey. And so it's really about accessibility. It's really about uplifting people. And it's really about providing people with optionality and something that feels very approachable and safe.
I love that. So, you mentioned, meeting people where they are. You have some low dose options. I believe you have a lineup of 4 milligram options, and then you have the 10 milligram options as well for people that need a little bit of a stronger dose. And what's really interesting that you guys have done that I love is you kind of flipped the industry standard there. So your 4 ounce or 4 milligram dosage is in the bigger format, so the 12 ounce cans, and then you went with the smaller 7.5, 8 ounce cans for the 10 milligram. What led to that decision making?
So when astute question, I wrote down this one. We first developed Plift. We thought of, familiar format, familiar flavor profiles, things like that. And familiar format that everyone knew was a 12-ounce can, right? Mm-hmm. It's safe, it's approachable. And so we wanted to make a safe and approachable format with a safe and approachable dose, right? 4 milligrams, it's consumed over the course of a 12-ounce can, is a very, very sessionable and approachable drink, right? But the market insight that we started to see was people, especially what we call the can of pros. So the can of curious, people who love 4 milligrams and they're comfortable all day there. And then the can of pros, people who just want to get the job done. the insight from the Canna Pros was that they wanted more dosage with less liquid. And so while the industry had been putting higher dosages in 12-ounce or even 16-ounce cans, depending upon the brand and where they're manufactured, we said, let's go the opposite. Let's give people what they came for. And sticking to our mantra of accessibly priced, we look to and try to lead the market in terms of cost and approachability from that potency level as well.
So you mentioned earlier that accessibility is key to the ethos of Plift, and so you also mentioned that you guys wanted to position you guys as a premium tasting yet affordable beverage. So those are kind of different sides of the same coin. How did you balance creating a high quality product while still maintaining an affordable price point?
Tons of work on the upfront.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big piece, is like how big of a flavor, in depth of a flavor, how complicated of a flavor can we make, but how can we make it price affordably? So we hired and we invested heavily in flavor development, and that helped us find this really good flavor mix with the most affordable ingredient costs, right? And as we continue to build our business, we look for efficiencies in our cost of goods all the
Mm-hmm.
time. That includes, switching ingredient suppliers or, doing other things to the recipe to make it more scalable. So that's one way, we approach that, and, investing in a premium flavor, but doing the work up front to make it so that we can price it affordably. The flip side of that coin too is that as you may know, when we launched the brand, we could not find affordably priced, stable emulsion. We looked with hemp cannabinoids. We reached out to some of the, big emulsion providers in the license space, and we weren't able to find someone that could source hemp cannabinoids for us. And so at that point, Glenn and I decided we were going to create Perfectly Ghost, which is a water soluble liquid emulsion supplier that works alongside brands. And our mission there is to create the most accessibly priced ingredient in the supply chain, or the most accessibly priced THC input in the supply chain. And so we value that. It's a premium product at an affordable price. And so that has allowed us to really create input pricing that allows our COGS to stay stable, or we can pull levers to make them go down. So those two things has driven the product side of the price or value piece. But the other part of it too, Lars, is it's just a conscious decision that we as founders, and Glenn, Andrew, and I have made, which is we know how much it costs to put the liquid in the cans, and we know how much we make when we do that, and so does everybody else. We just choose to charge less. I know how to make money. We know how to make money, but we're just choosing to take less margin so that our wholesalers and our retail partners can get what they need, but it still shows up for the consumer where they can approach it. So that's a conscious decision by us as founders to serve the greater good versus just ourselves.
That's actually a great segue, because you've mentioned before that Plift is founded by the people for the people. What challenges did you face as a founding team, and how have those experiences shaped your guys' identity?
It's a really good question, because it's super multifaceted. I would
Mm-hmm.
say this. I mean, in every industry, you're met with headwinds, and sometimes the headwinds are steady. Sometimes they're, gusting. Sometimes they're intermittent. Sometimes it's still, but at some point you're always going to be met with some level of headwinds. It's how you adjust to those headwinds that truly matters. And so, we've had challenges all over the place, from, our initial production runs fermenting because our initial emulsion supplier's emulsion wasn't stable. And how do we deal with that? Down to, raising money. I mean, I'm sure you had other founders on this show, or you've talked to enough of the founders in the space. It's like finding capital is hard, especially, growth capital for CPG and, what some would call high risk segments. But, even when you have momentum and even when you have growth, you find a headwind there. So I think we've dealt with it by being super communicative as a team, being super open, honest, and transparent with our partners all the way through the supply chain. And then just understanding that, it rolls with the punches, and we can weather this storm, and we work together at that every day. And that proves to be, something that has kept us going and kept the train proverbial tracks.
Yeah, definitely something that's hard is raising capital in the CPG world, as well as like I said, high risk, and then throw in beverage in there as well, which is very much a volume game,
Yep.
because the margins are super slim there. So we've talked about your guys' mission in a couple different ways here, but as you continue to grow and evolve, and you guys emphasize creating a sessionable alcohol alternative for everyone. Do you see that mission evolving as you grow, or changing ever so slightly, or what do you think?
I mean, there's always room for refinement, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. But I think our core North Star is always going to be that accessibly priced alternative for anybody, right? And there's someone, I've heard a quote that says, "If you try to please everyone, you please nobody." But I disagree, because in an emerging marketplace with an emerging total addressable market that continues to grow with no clearly defined winners,
Yep.
people have to find you as approachable. They have to enjoy their experience, and there has to be enough of them to come back. And so there's a lot of people that need to feel like they can approach it. And so, will our mission change at its core? Probably never. Will we adjust to make sure that the tent's broader and more open for more people? That probably makes more sense.
So I always like to ask all of my founders here, besides Plift, what else is in your fridge? What are you drinking?
Love that question. It's interesting. There's a handful of brands that I really, really enjoy outside of mine, and there's the ones I spend my money on. No particular order. I like Dope, partly because I just like the flavor and I just like the name.
Yeah.
There's a brand out of Minnesota called Simple. It's probably my favorite, zero cal. I really like and enjoy Elevado Prickly Pear. That's really good. Shout out to my guy, Josh Loyal. I love Banana Kush from Mighty Kind. That's one of my favorites. I'm trying to think of who else do I really, really like, would I invest money on? Chill State. I like Chill State's Lemon Haze and Pineapple Express. I've always been big fans of those. Those are probably the big ones. I mean, there's
Yeah.
others that I like, but if you're like, yo, what are you getting? And
Yeah.
then, because like from a full flavor perspective, there's two other brands. Sorry. I like Sweet Justice a lot, and I like this really small startup brand out of Minnesota called Slay.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the ones that I would like, invest in. And then again, it's I'll drink any of them because like I like what they do to you.
That's fair. I've had a few of those. I'd say about half of the ones you named. I'm a big fan of Dope as well. I love the name. I like the flavors as well. I like the Elevado. I've only had, I think they have a mojito one, and shame on me for not reading the label. I'm drinking it, and I'm like, man, this kind of has like a spice to it. It's kind of weird. And then I read the can, and there's, it's supposed to be a little bit spicy. So
Yeah, so was the prickly pear one. There was a prickly pear Paloma, and I didn't read the can, but I didn't really care. I was very surprised and pleasantly surprised by the spice.
same. I was just I wasn't expecting it, and then I've not been able to have Sweet Justice or Mighty Kind yet. And then same thing with Chill State. The lemon haze is phenomenal.
Another good one out there too is Climbing Kites. I like Climbing Kites. I mean, there's so many brands that I do like, but they're the brands I named are the ones that I'm like, either I'm fond of the packaging or I'm fond of the flavor. But I'm a
Yeah.
brand guy, so I spend a lot of time geeking out on people's can designs.
Same. It's sometimes hard. People will send me samples to try stuff, and I have a hard time getting to them all because
Yeah,
otherwise I'd
I
be in a,
bet.
a perpetual high state, and so it takes me a while to get to them. So,
Yeah, not super productive if you go like 50 milligrams in.
exactly. You start to lose the ability to give coherent reviews.
Exactly.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for your time, and until next time, cheers,
Yeah.
guys.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Take care.
Absolutely.